Good morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Thursday. Glad you're here. Am I live? Yes, I am live. Happy Thursday. Glad you're here. I had issues this morning. Facebook Live would not connect. So here I am going live on YouTube. We'll see how this works. Thanks for being here. Red Mic messages. Glad to be here finally. Today's Red Mic message: rules of the road. A neighborhood sidewalk can be a funny place. It's not the road, it's not your yard. It's one of those shared spaces where real life really happens. People walk their dogs there, kids learn to ride their bikes there, neighbors wave to you as you walk by from there, and occasionally somebody gets annoyed there. Neighborhood post in my hood caught my attention this week. A parent was talking about how their 9-year-old had been riding their bike on a sidewalk when somebody told them bikes belong in the street. Now, legally, in a lot of places, including many residential areas in Texas, kids riding bikes on a sidewalk is not the problem that folks think it is. It's legal in most of Texas. But in this case, I don't think legality is the issue. Now, when I grew up, Gen X, adults told us what to do all the time. And that's not the case now. And I get it. And if it'd been my kid, I probably would have been a lot more fiery than this lady was. In fact, she was not fiery at all. She was calm, she was respectful. And I think that's why the conversation ended up being respectful. I might have gone a little bit more scorched earth. I just don't know. The parent was right, though. A 9-year-old on a bicycle next to speeding cars, delivery drivers, distracted drivers, people treating the street like, a qualifying lap at Daytona or the Indy 500. That's not where parents want their kids learning balance. So, yes, the sidewalk is definitely the safer place. But another neighbor made a fair point, too. She said that she and her dogs had encountered kids on bikes who didn't yield and they were not, riding friendly the Texas way. And she said that they had to move. She suggested, don't just tell kids to yield, but practice it. Walk the sidewalk, have the child beside you, teach them to slow down, move over, stop, let the walker pass. That's not anti-kid. I think that's good coaching. But the bicycle discussion aside, it's what didn't happen in the discussion. If you've spent any time in social media, you know how these things go. A concern becomes a criticism becomes an argument, and then a few minutes later, somebody's threatening to call the HOA or the cops or something. And, then somebody's saying, fine, I'll just move and just stop. It didn't happen here, though. And I think it's because the adults involved used a few tools that seemed to be getting harder to find. First, they assumed good intentions. The parent wasn't trying to raise reckless children. The pedestrian wasn't trying to ruin the kid's summer. Both sides acknowledged that the other person had a point. When we do that, we listen differently. And then number two, they addressed behavior instead of attacking character. There's a difference between your kids are rude and the child didn't yield when we encountered them. One attacks people, the other describes an event. One is going to start a fight, the other one started a conversation. And third, nobody requested or demanded perfection. The parents weren't claiming that their children should never ride on the sidewalk. The parents weren't claiming that their children never made mistakes. The neighbors weren't saying that children should never ride on sidewalks. Everybody left room for reality. And then they focused on solutions. Practice yielding, slow down around pedestrians, be mindful, show grace. Whether it's an online community or one right outside your window, communities are not built by everybody claiming the maximum amount of personal rights. They're built when people ask, what does courtesy require from me? Bikes don't own the sidewalk. Walkers don't own the sidewalk. Cars don't own the street. We share the neighborhood, both figuratively and literally. And sharing requires grace. Grace for the kid still learning balance, grace for the walker who doesn't want to dodge bikes, grace for the parent wanting to keep their kids safe, grace for the neighbor who might sound a little sharper online than they would face to face. Because Facebook removes tone. A comment can be read at an 8 when you really meant it at a 5. A practical suggestion can feel like criticism. And one of the most underrated skills out there is the ability to disagree without escalation. Not every disagreement needs a winner. Not every correction needs a counterattack. Sometimes it just needs a calm conversation. And the adults in this conversation declined the invitation to choose sides and ramp it up to 11. They chose something better. They remained neighbors. They remained calm. And I think that's the real lesson. Communities survive when people care more about understanding each other than defeating each other. Neighborhoods are not made great by sidewalks, streets, houses, fences, or HOA rules. They're made great by great neighbors. And great neighbors understand that being right is not enough. Sometimes you have to be gracious. You should assume good intentions and focus on solutions instead of blame. You got to remember the goal is not always to win the argument. The goal is to stay neighbors. And that's today's Red Mike message. Hope you found it interesting or helpful. I hope you're able to use some of these things in place in your own life. Please give me a like, a follow, and a share. Tomorrow, hashtag Fun Friday. Going to talk about what I think is Wichita Falls' greatest export. And I'm going to have a little fun doing it. If you know me, you probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'll see you again tomorrow. Please give me a like, a follow, and a share. I love you guys. Until next time, don't forget, as always, life is short. Drink the bourbon.